Hello and welcome to another painting tutorial. And here we're going to look at the Plague Claw Catapult. Just spin it around real quick. I'll show you this in slower at the end of the video. And here's the paints that I use, and I'll show you clips of everything in 4x speed. So here we go, starting off with Baneblade Brown. So I started with Dryad Bark and I sprayed everything with that. And just dry brushing it all with Baneblade Brown to sort of bring out all the colors there. You can see the texture of the wood coming out, really nice texture. And then using a bit of Terminatus Stone on top of that just to bring out some of the edge highlights a bit more. So lots of dry brushing to get my wood basically to a completed level. Okay, I'm using Gun Gray now. This is a Vallejo Model Air paint. The reason I use this one is because it's nice and thinned down, comes straight out of the bottle, but Lead Belcher is the same color basically, and obviously a lot easier to find. So normally I use Lead Belcher, but I've started using this Vallejo paint as an alternative. So I'm going to go around, paint everything silver, and this takes forever on these models. Okay, so using Vallejo Rust, which is basically the same as Warplock Bronze, for the same reason, not doing nearly as much in this color, just some of the stuff around the Warpstone there, and a couple other small details on the Skaven crew and that sort of thing. So just a little bit of that here and there, nothing too much. Okay, I guess I almost showed all of that. XV88 now. This is going to be for the plague sort of stuff. This is kind of like a vomit color. At least that's the way I'm going to try to make it look, and just doing sort of a light brown. And this will help contrast with the rest of the model and go on there nice. Okay, Caliban Green for the Warpstone, and I think that's basically just that thing on this model. Not too many other little Warpstone details anywhere that I can remember. So yeah, just putting a base coat on there, nothing too special. Just trying to make sure it's not too thick, and that I get all the little bits, and I don't go over onto any of the Warplock stuff. Okay, Ratskin Flesh, base coating on all of the Ratskin. Pretty obvious one there. So that's kind of thing like the tails, the hands, the feet. I tend to do more of the arms than I probably should with this kind of color, but going forward I'll probably use Mournfang Brown. So I do that on the little hair tufts on the arms and legs and around the tail. But in the future I think I'm going to do more of basically the whole arm in that color. Rakarth Flesh, this is for the cloaks on these guys, so I'm going to be doing this as kind of an off-white color. Later I forgot what color I'd used, so I used Zamesi Dust. So either or, just kind of an off-white, and I'm going to be putting a nice coat of the wash on that. Castellan Green, so this is kind of the Plague Monk color, and I'm just doing this to tie these in with the Plague Monks in my army. Kind of a normal green, not a forest green, so it's kind of a duller green. And then Steel Legion Drab, using that for kind of any of the straps or leather bits on the crew for this. Not a lot of detail there. Probably could have used the Mournfang Brown, and you wouldn't have noticed after the washes. Mephiston Red, so I'm doing all the hoses in that. And so there's hoses on the frame here, as well as the Warpstone. There's a couple hoses on that. So not a lot of red on this model at all, but just a little bit of contrast. Okay, so now I'm moving over to all my washes. So Agrax Earthshade on all of the Warplock stuff, and I could probably do that on the silvers, but I think I used Nihlakn oil on all of that. If I had done the wood differently, I could have put this new Agrax Earthshade on that, but I didn't want to have to highlight it again and try to keep away from all of the silver, so I didn't put the Agrax Earthshade on the wood. Okay, so yeah, Nihlakn oil on all the silver, and you could alternatively do Agrax Earthshade on both of those. There's no for Skaven, you want it to look dirty, so the dark brown wash is probably good. And this takes a long time to do all the stuff on the frame because there's so much metal bits everywhere. Seraphim Sepia for the plague guys, and kind of the vomit stuff as well. Their skin, I think I do. Oh no, I use Fleshshade for that. But all their cloaks and all that sort of thing, Fleshshade. just a bit of a warmer color. You could have used Seraphim Sepia. You don't need to use two different ones. They're pretty close to each other. Close enough for this type of a model that doesn't really matter. Okay, Carroburg Crimson for the red. And not a lot of that. Not too worried about that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Runefang Steel. I've assembled the model because I'm not too worried about highlighting stuff that's on the inside. And I'm trying to do some edge highlighting on everything that's metal and trying not to get on any of the wood bits because then I have to touch it up. So this is a very tedious step, takes a long time, and it really makes the model when it looks nice. Obviously I didn't show it all there. So you have to go through everything and try to pick it all out. At least that's the way I want to do it. So I'm using Brass Scorpion here to kind of highlight up some of the bronzish colors. And so that's not quite the same technique as the metal, the steel, because now I'm using the Rundlord Brass kind of as edge highlighting on that. And I guess I missed it. Sorry about that. Balor Brown on all the XV88 that's been shaded. And just trying to pick out those bubbles so they look nice and gooey and solid and all that sort of stuff. And clean looking. Okay, Zamesi Desert for more highlights on that, and just trying to make those look as 3D as possible. Obviously they already are 3D, but that's the whole idea of the highlights here, is just to bring out the level of detail a little bit more. And then Hexos Palesun, dry brush on that, just to make it a little bit more detail. Okay, Bestigor Flesh, highlighting on all the rat skin stuff here. So the tails are probably the hardest part because the mold line on it, you don't get the nice texture all the way around, so you have to try to pick it out. But I mean, as much detail as you want on those. And then Ungor Flesh to do the final highlights on any of the skin bits. And as you can see, I haven't glued the rest of the crew in or the platforms they stand on. I'll do that at the very end. Loren Forest for the flesh, or the cloaks that I did, kind of like the plague monks. And then a quick highlight of Straken Green, which now for the just for the edges of the cloak there. And I probably show more of this than I really need to, but just painting on edge highlights just to help bring that out. Okay, Tellarn Sand, highlighting up the leather bits. And Zamesi Desert, or Zamesi Dust, highlighting that one more time. May not have had to do that, but at this point I'm on the home stretch, and so it's kind of nice to be able to finish off everything nicely. Okay, Warpstone Green. I'm trying to paint the Warpstone highlights here. So the way that I like to do this is try to get as much of the area as I can with a nice solid coat. I find these ones go on a little bit translucent, but you don't want them to have too much paint that is a big goopy sort of thing. And then I'm doing Moot Green, trying to get all the sharpest edges so it looks like it's kind of glowing a bit more. Again, I'm not necessarily, I'm definitely not an expert on this. I've seen other ones that look a lot nicer than mine, but this can kind of look nice as you're going through. And an alternative might be to do Warpstone and then doing the wash after that. That might help a bit more. Then I'm doing kind of a dry brush with Underhive Ash, just to really bring up the highlight as much as possible, and trying to avoid anything else with that. So just kind of extreme highlighting on some of the areas using dry brush. And then Waywatcher Green, just to bring the greens a bit more, tie them together a bit more, and that helps to cover up some of the dry brushing, because that can kind of look chalky sometimes. Okay, Skrag Brown for some of the fur there, just final highlights on that. And then Evil Sun Scarlet, doing highlights on the red. So obviously I've assembled this, so I'm not worried about doing the insides of those tubes, just worried about getting the obvious ones on the outside. You're never going to really see the inside, at least nobody does on my models. And then Wild Rider Red for some final highlighting on those red bits there, just some of the highest points and the curves and whatever. Gorther Brown. So now I'm just touching up some of the areas on the wood, anything that got silver on it, and Nihlakn Oxide, whatever you pronounce that. So that's the technical paint. I'm just doing that on all the brass bits there. Alright, so here's the final thing. Give you a bit of a spin, a run around there. Nice slow spin. I'm going to try to incorporate this in my videos a bit more. So I glued the guys in there, just use a bit of super glue, and didn't do much more with it. A little bit of sand on the base and painted that up. Here's the paints that I used and all the different areas. So these will be all in my blog post. So you can check out the link for that in the description text. And so all those still images will be there, and you can download them or bookmark the page, whatever, if you want to follow along with those. Or you can come back to this video and watch it over and over again. That's fine too. So here's some still images that will also be on the blog. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, any comments, any things that you think would be better, please let me know. And hope you enjoyed this, and see you next time.